Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are on Earth, welcome to another TSA webinar experience. We are the Turtle Survival Alliance, and we're here to share with you knowledge, power, and conservation. So I'm going to give a couple minutes to let everyone come into the webinar from the waiting room. In the meantime, I want to thank you for joining us for this webinar experience. We're really excited to bring our TSA Madagascar staff into this webinar so we can have a really immersive Q&A experience with them. A couple things that I do want to point out while we wait for everybody to come in is that this is a webinar, and as such, we'll have a Q&A session at the end. The Q&A feature is located at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and that's where you're going to want to put in any questions for the panelists. Now, if you put them in the chat, we won't be able to see them. Luckily, however, Ratri Lertlaksamipun, our Director of Development, will be in the chat putting the various prompts in and letting you know if you have a question that you accidentally put in the chat, put it on over into the Q&A. Also, just so you know, the panelists will be able to respond in the Q&A should there be any questions that we're not able to get to. Furthermore, this is being recorded live. So if there ends up being questions that we don't get to, we're going to be putting this video on YouTube in which you can put your question that you had that maybe didn't get answered into YouTube, and then we'll be able to respond there as quickly as we can. We plan to get an email out this evening with the link to the webinar. So if you didn't get a chance to make it or you want to see some part of it again, you're able to do that. Again, welcome everybody who is now coming into this TSA webinar experience. We're really excited to have everybody here. So first, I want to introduce everyone. Now that starts with Elena Duran. Elena Duran is running the slideshow that will be going on during this webinar. And so we're really thankful for Elena to be able to do that. And then also, again, in the chat, Ratri Lertlaksamipun, our Director of Development, will be putting prompts and links for you in there. I know one of them that she probably put in is, where is everyone coming from today? We love to have viewership from all over the world because Turtle Survival Alliance is a global organization dedicated to turtle and tortoise conservation. And we have programs and projects in more than 30 countries, one of those being Madagascar. So that being said, I want to introduce everyone. And first off, Harry Razafima Manjarabi, would you like to introduce yourself and tell everybody what your position is with Turtle Survival Alliance?
Thanks, Jordan, and hello, everyone. I'm Harry Razafima Manjarabi, as said by Jordan. I'm the country director of TSA in Madagascar. So basically, I'm coordinating and overseeing TSA Madagascar's program. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Harry. Next, Santa Rakutu Nanahari. Santa, tell us about yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Santa Rakutunanar. I'm the head of veterinary support at TSA Madagascar, so I'm overseeing all of the veterinary activities in the country.
All right, thanks, Santa. Next, Karela Anjara Mamitiana.
Hello everyone. Yeah, my name is Karela Anzara Mamitiana. You guys can call me Karela. I'm the lead keeper of TSA Madagascar in the southwest of Madagascar. The first responsible of the animals here. Thank you.
Thanks, Karela. Next up, we have Navaluna Rakatubi.
Hello everyone, my name is Naval Rakutve, and I'm one of the vet assistant of TSA Madagascar. Thank you.
Thanks, Nav. And last but absolutely not least, we have Mattia Andrea Nante Naina. Mattia, we can't hear you right now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So my name is Mitia. I'm the other vet assistant helping Santa for vet stuff. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Mattia. So we're really excited to have these five employees of TSA Madagascar here because they went through it all. So let me take you back to just about a year ago. It was January 16th. You know, here in the United States, it's winter time. In Madagascar, they were gearing up for a monsoon season that would be unforgettable. So on that night, a large monsoon, Cyclone Dicoletti, was making its way towards the Lavavolo Tortoise Center located in southwestern Madagascar from the Mozambique Channel. This was a very, very powerful storm, bringing with it strong winds and lots of rain. Now, mind you, this area of southwestern Madagascar had not seen rain in about a year. So the soils were very, very parched. And what happens when rain hits parched soils? It creates flood conditions. And they found that out very quickly and unfortunately. The flooding occurred throughout the coastal areas and it hit our Lavavolo Tortoise Center like we never had imagined. The Lavavolo Tortoise Center was basically resurrected during the April confiscation of over 10,000 radiated tortoises that occurred in Tuliar during that year in 2018. Since then, there has not been any flooding episodes like this. So Cyclone Dicoletti was something that was almost unimaginable and somewhat unprepared for. So the following webinar is going to dive into not only that cyclone, but the several preceding cyclones that would follow in what would become a cyclonic season that was both historic and unanticipated. So with that, let's get to our first question. And the first question is for Harry. So Harry, during the first hours of Cyclone Dicoletti, you were coordinating remotely while the team faced rapidly rising waters. What were the most critical decisions you had to make in those 24 hours? And how did you balance the immediate animal welfare? I mean, there's more than 13,000 tortoises at the Lavavolo Tortoise Center, staff safety, and the legal responsibilities tied to these confiscated tortoises rescued from illegal wildlife trafficking.
Yeah, during the first hours of cyclone, my most critical decision was to first set up a communication system, a system that is constantly open and uninterrupted. The issue is that I wanted to obtain precise information from the ground. So in order to prioritize actions based on real conditions rather than just assumptions. So information like exact water levels, which enclosures and staff houses were flooded, and like how many tortoises were affected, and if staff still has remaining water. Yeah, so that's a kind of information. So after that, I directed staff to move tortoises to the highest possible ground and secured them at elevated pens. Based on information also, we ensured together that No one worked alone, especially in dangerous currents, and that staff had safe shelter before continuing rescue work. Mm, At the same time, I instructed the team to secure all administrative and legal documents, certifying the custody of each confiscated tortoise. So, in short, throughout those hours, every decision had to balance staff safety, animal welfare, and legal compliance, but based on real information and accurate information. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot, Harry. I mean, I talked to you on the phone during that time period, and you were away and having to coordinate all this. You see and you hear about it, and you're hearing from your team members there, and just trying to manage it all. And you did such an incredible job with that. And you luckily had Corella there on the ground, who is an incredible lead keeper. He knew what to do in that moment, and he really led the team. So my next question goes to Corella. So Corella, on that first night of flooding, your instinct was to run towards the tortoises. Can you walk us through that moment to include what you saw, what you felt, and what drove you into the floodwaters?
Hello. Yeah, thanks for the question, Jordan. I think I will start with a short story. Uh, 5 days before the cyclone, the center just had received over 1,400 juvenile tortoises. That's why several veterinary students from Antananarivo who were present at the time assisted the keepers in providing care and for the newly confiscated tortoises. Most of them required urgent support, such as rehydration and assisted feedings. On the night of January 15th, it was raining non-stop. And when we realized that early in the morning, we realized that the water level was starting to rise. Our first thought was to move the 1,400 tortoises out of the clinic. Then we saw that they were already floating inside, and the water level had reached around 60 centimeters at that time, and it was still raining. Also, a torrent of water rushing down from the mountain was reaching the LTC center. So initially, only 12 of us were present at the center, including 4 gendarmes and 4 veterinarians, 2 keepers, the regional manager, and myself. But just a few moments later, the rest of my team of the keepers just arrived, along with several members of the local communities to help. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Corella. You did an incredible job. And, if anybody has read the magazine story in the Turtle Survival magazine from this past year, it really just gives you an immersive feeling of what Corella went through and this whole diving, basically diving in, going straight out into the flood waters to help these tortoises. So, that's a plug right there. Get out your Turtle Survival magazine, the 24-25 edition, and please check that story out because it really talks about the heroic efforts of this team. So also coordinating from afar was Santa. So Santa, as the head of veterinary support, had a large responsibility for the team down there in coordinating the veterinary activities because you have all of these tortoises who are inundated by the floodwaters. And so there is a lot of actions that need to occur to ensure the health and safety and long-term recovery of these tortoises affected. So Santa, nearly 8,000 of the tortoises required treatment for pneumonia. each receiving multiple antibiotic injections. How did you design and coordinate triage protocols at that scale? And what lessons will shape future emergency veterinary response plans?
Thank you, Jordan. As we know already, LTC is far away from the city. Fortunately, there were the students that were helping with the recent confiscation. They had everything needed, like antibiotics, syringes, physiological liquids, everything needed for the care of the tortoises. So from China, I was making sure to get new vet supplies to be shipped down to LTC, but also organize with the team, the ground team, on the prioritizing the emergencies, like to have the most so we can save the most of the tortoises. Like we divided them in groups according to the priorities. Some team just prepare the syringes easy to use according to the weight of the animals. Some team prepared animals. So we worked in chains to make things easier, and good record keeping system and assignation was created too, because we need to do the multiple injection, and it's fatal for the tortoises to receive overdosage or less drugs than needed. And from that, we learned that we always have needed supplies in case of emergency. And from now, we are doing a continuous capacity building in the country with the vet students. So in case of emergency or whenever we need it, we will always have some hands available to help, just for big confiscation or for emergency like that. Thank you.
Thanks, Santa. And if you were at the annual symposium on the conservation biology of tortoises and freshwater turtles last year, Santa gave a great talk going through all of this and all of the procedures and planning for the future. It was really, really great. My next question is for Navaluna. So, Nav, I mean, you took a demanding multi-stage journey to reach Lavavolo with veterinary supplies. When you first saw the center still half underwater, what was your immediate assessment, both medically and emotionally?
Thank you, Jordan. Uh, Emotionally first. It was a shock for me because I spent 4 months, 4 months at LTC from July to October 2024, caring for both white tortoises and those at the center before the flooding. At that time, the environment was dry and extremely hot, and we were even struggling to access fresh water. Then, after my mission was done, I returned to Tana, and a few months later, the flooding occurred. I was in Tana when they showed me the photos of LTC submerged in water, with the staff standing in front of the flooded place. Then I was immediately sent back to help. Seeing LTC in that condition with my own eyes was unbelievable. I was so used to its dry, harsh climate that the presence of so much water felt surreal for me. Medically, I knew we had to act quickly, and my immediate concern was for the smaller tortoises in the lower pen that I had personally cared for over several months, and knew that they are fragile because of the sudden environmental change that posed serious health risk, especially respiratory disease such as pneumonia. With the coordination alongside Santa and Karela, we organized tasks efficiently. As Santa said, uh, some teams member worked with the keeper to move the tortoises to safer areas, with the other began triage and treatment.
All right, thanks a lot, Nav. You and I, we were, texting, we were discussing. I mean, that trip was incredible that you had to make with all the supplies and getting down there. You all got there as quickly as possible. And that's also, I want to say, for all those out there who supported this, that support means everything to people like Nav and those on the ground that are helping with the medical supplies and the team from the University of Antananarivo, they couldn't do what they do without everyone's global support. So thank you. My next question is for Mattia. So Mattia, from your perspective on the ground, how did veterinary priorities shift between the first cyclone and the third when water levels exceeded 2 meters? And again, I want to emphasize that Cyclone Dicoletti was just the first of several cyclones to hit the Lavavolo Tortoise Center within a 2-month period.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. So, of course, our priorities evolved a lot across the three cyclones, mainly because our capacity to respond improved over time. I mean, during the first cyclone, everything happened very fast. Water levels were already rising, and the team on site was trying to keep animals alive under very chaotic conditions, as Carla said. So there were limited people and resources. So relocation and organized treatment were extremely difficult. But fortunately, things changed during the second cyclone when additional vet students and support staff arrived from Antananarivo with a larger team. We could organize a proper emergency response. Tasks were divided between triage, treatment, preparing medication, and relocating tortoises from flooded areas. But I'll say that LTC keepers played a huge role because they know the animals and the facility so well, and that knowledge was very critical. So by the first cyclone, we even through water levels exceeded 3 meters, we weren't reacting blindly anymore because we have the systems were already in place and everyone understood their role. So the focus shifted more toward stabilization, close health monitoring, and preventing secondary mortality. So the response really evolved from shock to mobilization and then the coordinated resilience. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mattia. Yeah, and again, thank you for your efforts on the ground there. Being able to work with that many tortoises and prioritize, especially after these tortoises and the staff have been through so much by that point, is a Herculean effort, and you all, rose to that task. So thank you. My next question goes back to Harry. So Harry, following the floods, the transfer of approximately 5,000 tortoises to the Turtle Survival Alliance's Tortoise Conservation Center in Siumbe demonstrated the strength of TSA's national network and response system. So, how has this experience reshaped your long-term strategy for climate resilience, and what does stronger than before now mean operationally, structurally, and philosophically?
Well, the transfer of thousands of tortoises, 5,000, from LTC to the other center in Androuille, the Tortoise Conservation Center. It confirmed that resilience for us must be built at the network level, not just at a single site like LTC or just one single site. That means that designing Lavavolo and the other centers to support the rapid redistribution of animals when it is necessary, like, for example, when cyclone hit. Operationally, stronger than before. It now means that we have formal emergency protocols, like Santa told before, as she was really involved in drafting these emergency protocols. Stronger than before operationally also means that currently we have a network of volunteers, veterinarian volunteers, biologist volunteers, and so we have hands for any rapid response needed. And we also have now clear communication channels when times of crisis may appear. And these communication channels enable us to act quickly and without interruption. Structurally, we have infrastructure like enclosures at the higher ground. We have elevated buildings that can withstand potential future disasters. And lastly, philosophically, we are strong as these events have deepened our commitment. We are committed to planning more frequent climate extremes. We are investing in staff and community resilience. And we view each crisis now as an opportunity to adapt systems. Yeah. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Harry. And again, for everyone watching, there's so much donor support. We ran a campaign after this that raised several $100,000 to be able to, to make this stronger than before, better than before, um, throughout Madagascar and at Lavavolo and the Tortoise Conservation Center, so that they are able to respond in crises, that they're able to prepare for crises, and that they are, the staff is well trained and has all the knowledge and skills and tools that they need to be able to deal with crises that may occur in the future. So thanks a lot, Harry. My next question goes back to Corella. So Corella, from the first rains through rebuilding all of the enclosures stone by stone at Lavavolo to continuing in your current role as lead keeper, I mean, you've been through it all. At what moment did you feel hope again? And how have the restored and new facilities furthered your hope for the Lavavolo Tortoise Center's future?
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. We never lost hope because we were fighting for a cause to dedicate all our efforts to saving the endangered tortoises. Also, from the day one, the TSA team and supporters around the world stood by us and continued to support us until the very end. The restoration and the new facilities have strengthened my hope for the future of the LTC. They show that TSA does not give up despite the challenge encountered of the Simon region. This time, even greater precautions have been taken as the new infrastructure has been designed to prevent flooding and with buildings constructed in stilts. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Corella. I mean, again, incredible job, and the fact, what you said there is just so true. Everybody is there working for the tortoises, and that's what it takes in conservation is just this passion and this just innate response to help these animals. And, I love the way you put it. So thank you very much. My next question is for Santa. So you emphasized mental resilience during the flooding events. How did you support the psychological well-being of the staff while managing the intense medical demands under such trying conditions?
Thank you, Jordan. It was a shock for everyone for the first flood. On the second one, we were kind of prepared. So we prepared the team emotionally and physically. Like, you need to take a rest now. You need to eat well, sleep well, because it's gonna be hard again. And we encourage them every day. We made sure that they feel safe and strong, enthusiastic for the work. We only share positive vibes, trust them, encourage them every single day, for each communication. They don't need to worry about anything. Like, they will have everything needed for the animals and for themselves and for their families. We listened to them and told them that the world is behind them, ready to support on everything. They are not alone facing this crisis. Even they are the ones in the ground, but we are just far away from them. But they don't feel alone. So we provide anything, not only for the animals, but for the staff, for the villagers, for their families. The support worldwide was so much precious for everyone. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Santa. And you did an incredible job. And when people go through these types of crises, being able to have that mental resilience is such an important part. And this team, I mean, if people have looked at so many of the photos during this time, if you've looked at our blogs or if you've looked at the magazine, what's always incredible about the Madagascar team is that there's smiles on faces all the times. And it just shows the mental fortitude of the team and being able to handle the extreme challenge that is in front of them, all while having smiles on. So, you from afar and those on the ground, just an incredible job in that regard. So my next question is again for Navaluna. So treating thousands of tortoises required precision, tracking, and endurance. What systems did you use on the ground to maintain accuracy under pressure?
Thank you, Jordan. This is just an addition of what Santa said, and we used the shifting methods, and I can say that shifting method, shifting responsibility were essential. We are the large team, and fortunately, we were a group of passionate people, but some tasks were physically demanding while others required sustained concentration. So, if someone performed the same task continuously, fatigue could lead to loss of focus. First, we all worked together to move tortoises to the higher place, and after that, we divide into a specialized group. Some continued relocation and conducted triage assessment, other prepared syringes and medication, and other administrated treatment. The key system was that shifting method that I said and the flexibility, because if someone needed a break or felt better doing another task, they could switch role with someone else, and this rotation helped maintain energy, precision, and morale. Um, there was a significant pressure because every single life mattered, but I made a conscious effort to maintain a positive atmosphere, talking with team members, offering encouragement, even sharing some jokes sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nav. And again, to reiterate, I mean, the Lavavolo Tortoise Center at the time was home to more than 13,000 tortoises. So for anybody who's ever worked in veterinary care or in triage situations, to be able to track and maintain and be able to give, life support for that many animals affected by the flooding is, again, it's a Herculean effort. And what you all did there on the ground is just inspiring because it is so much work. But out of it, most of the tortoises survived and will now continue to have the opportunity to be returned to the wild through our confiscation to reintroduction strategy. So again, thank you very much, Nav. Next question is for Mattia. So Mattia, what was the most challenging medical complication you encountered in the aftermath of the flooding, and how did the team adapt its response to that?
Uh, Thank you for the question. So, one of the biggest medical challenges after the flooding was certainly managing the combined effect of repeated environmental stress on thousand tortoises at the same time. I mean, thermal shock was a major concern because during the floods, the tortoises were exposed to cold water for long periods, which led to hypothermia. And then, as the water receded in the south, the temperatures increased quickly and they were suddenly exposed to heat stress. And before they could fully recover, another cyclones would come. So their bodies were constantly trying to adapt cold, then heat, and then cold again. So for ectothermic animals like tortoises, that is extremely demanding physiologically. So we also dealt with traumatic injuries. Some tortoises died because trees fell during strong winds. Others were trapped between rocks or debris during the flooding. So we treat shell injuries, soft tissue zones, and lesion. On top of that, contaminated floodwater increased the risk of bacterial infections, especially affecting the skin and also the shell. So at that point, we had to shift from routine veterinary work to something closer to mass emergency medicine because we couldn't treat animals one by one the way we normally would. We had to implement, as Nav said, triage, prioritizing the weakest or non-responsive individuals first, while monitoring the rest at the population level. And once the emergency phase passed, follow-up become just as important because of temporary overcrowding and height enclosure density, we had to make sure there were enough shade and proper thermal regulation. So creating dry and shaded recovery areas was essential to prevent additional heat stress and avoid secondary mortality. It wasn't just about treating injuries, it was about stabilizing an entire population under extreme repeated stress. Thank you.
Thank you, Mattia. Yeah, I mean, you described it perfectly. And so, I mean, we showed the imagery at the beginning, Cyclone Nicoletti, and then the tortoises go through that. Then they go through this wave of, sun and heat. And then just a couple weeks later, another cyclone hits. And for all those like in the Western Hemisphere, so think of, these hurricanes hitting, or whether it's, there are different names in different places, hurricanes, cyclones, monsoons. Um, and then they go through this period of getting waterlogged and then sunny and dry again, and then they get hit again by the third cyclone, and then they go for now a longer duration where they're having once again warmth and sun, and then a fourth cyclone comes and hits Madagascar. So just for all of you who have ever been through hurricane scenarios or cyclones or typhoons or monsoons, whatever you want to say, just imagine that repetitive pattern for both the tortoises and the people taking care of them. So it's just incredible what you all did. And again, for all those watching, for all those who supported this effort, thank you so much. For those on the ground, I mean, just incredible. My next question goes back to Harry, the director of the Madagascar program. So, Harry, the decision to consult the community again before rebuilding, even though there was already a long-term agreement in place, sent a strong message. Why was reaffirming that partnership so important during reconstruction? Because again, to let everybody know, Lavavolo Tortoise Center needed to be expanded into higher ground for the tortoises' long-term health and safety. And to do that required building these expansive enclosures up into that higher ground.
Mhm. Yeah, reaffirming our partnership with the community was essential because the land, the animals, and the risks are shared. And we could ethically redesign the center, especially shifting more infrastructure to higher ground without the full consent and support of local leaders and residents. So we decided to return back to the community. We organized consultations and we marked the agreement with a traditional ceremony. By doing so, we showed that the long-term conservation agreement is a living partnership, not just a document signed years ago. This process also gave us space for grievances. The community was able to express its expectations openly, and this process strengthened trust, especially after traumatic events. And this process ensured that reconstruction would bring benefits, not only for tortoises, but also for the livelihoods, safety, and pride in Lavavolo as a conservation hub. Thank you.
Thanks, Harry. And so, just so everyone also understands, with these programs and projects, the conservation really starts and stops at the community level. It's so important to have community buy-in, and the communities appreciate both the animals and the work being done. And so, continuing to strengthen these relationships and getting the community members involved in the conservation effort is so vital to the long-term work. And that segues into the reconstruction part of this. And I want to ask Corella. So Corella, hiring local community members during the reconstruction impact both the speed of the rebuilding and the relationships with the Lavavolo village?
Yeah, it's important to highlight that the communities did not stand idly by. Their involvement was invaluable and created a true win-win partnership as it facilitated and accelerated the recovery process. Most importantly, we were able to provide them employment opportunities, enabling local families to earn an income. We are confident that engaging members of the local community during the reconstruction has strengthened our already existing cooperation and further deepened our relationship with the Lavavolo village community. Thank you.
Thank you, Corella. And everyone there has done such an incredible job with engaging the community, hiring community members. I personally, I'm able to see all of these uh, photo albums, and across our TSA team, we're able to see these photo albums that you all send, and it's so inspiring to see all of the community members. Like you said, I mean, from day one of helping collect tortoises out of the water all the way to building the new facilities and the new habitats for the tortoises, is just a testament to how the community perceives you and the way in which they perceive you because of the way in which you engage them and give outreach to the community. So thank you very much. The next question is for Santa. So Santa, how will these infrastructure improvements, including water systems, veterinary storage, and elevated buildings, affect both treatment outcomes and veterinary staff endurance during future extreme weather events should they occur?
Mm. From the support from worldwide, infrastructures were rebuilt, and we made them stronger than previously. Houses are made from concrete now instead of wood in elevated area. The veterinary supplies are kept safely in a controlled environment so we can use them better because most of the antibiotics are, for example, not to be stored above 25 degrees, while in the area temperature can reach over 35 at 10 a.m. So we have a proper storage for the veterinary supplies now. Also, the water system is being improved to make sure that our staff, the animals, the tortoises, and the surrounding communities around the center are having access to clean water permanently. And in October, November 2025, last year, we did a health check. We did a follow-up health check for the tortoises to 2,000. We did a health check for 2,000 tortoises, and we noticed that they are all fully recovered. So the release project is ready to be continued again from this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Santa. So, as everyone can see from the slide, everything is on stilts now. You have these elevated structures. So, for my next question, I want to go to Navaluna. With the buildings now on elevated stilts, how does the new infrastructure change your confidence and preparedness for future cyclonic events?
Uh, you know, during the flooding, many concern crossed our minds, not only about the tortoises, but also about the staff members, their family, our families, their home, and the pets that depends on you. With the new infrastructure, elevated on stilts, we feel secure. Staff family are safer, equipment and supplies are protected in a dry place, and the tortoises are housed in an enclosure designed to face the flooding. If another cyclones or flood occurs, we can now focus entirely on providing care and support to the tortoises rather than worrying about relocating them or protecting the infrastructure. And the enclosure are built in are now adapted to this environmental risk, which significantly improve our preparedness. Thank you.
Thanks, Nav. Kind of what I want to ask next, this goes to Mattia. And it's an overall question. Now we are a year later. You've heard from everybody else. You've seen these new facilities on stilts, the water infrastructure, the tortoises now in new elevated habitats, at least up into higher terrain. So, looking back 1 year later, what moment during the recovery best captures the resilience of both the tortoises and the people caring for them?
Yeah, I would say one moment that really captures the resilience of both tortoises and the people caring for them was when the water started to recede, and that's after weeks of emergency work, rescuing animals from flooded enclosure, working in water above our waist, and not knowing how many turtles would survive. Um, we slowly began to see small signs of recovery, and tortoises that had been weak or barely moving started walking again. They began feeding, they were basking under the sun as soon as dry ground repaired. So it seems simple, but in that context, it means everything. At the same time, the team, even though everyone was exhausted and living in very difficult conditions, shifted almost immediately from crisis mode to rebuilding, cleaning enclosure, restoring habitats, re-establishing daily routines. There wasn't really a pause. It was just this shared determination to keep going. So seeing the tortoises recover while the team keep adapting alongside them was incredibly powerful. It reminds us that conservation isn't only about responding during a disaster, it's about continuity, patience, and collective resilience. So recovery wasn't one big moment. It was many small signs of life returning day after day. That's all.
All right, thanks a lot, Mattia. That really, that encapsulates, what we're looking at. I mean, sometimes I know you all were there on the ground. We're watching from around the world as this happens. And for you all in that, you're there in the moment. And now, a year later, we're able to look back, reflect. Um, I hope you and all of the staff there just recognize what an incredible job you did on the ground during that basically 2 month period and beyond. And it's still continuing with the reconstruction activities, again, building better than before. So, I want to say on behalf of everybody around the world, just what an incredible job you all did there on the ground, and hope that you're able to reflect back on that with a lot of pride. Um, So my next question, I want to move on to Harry. And this, I just kind of talked about this, everybody from the around the world watching. Well, there was so much donor support, so much global support during this crisis to aid those on the ground in Madagascar during the flooding events and the aftermath. So, when donors responded in the first weeks after the cyclones, what did that early support make possible that simply would not have happened otherwise?
Mm. Yeah. Um, yeah. Early donor support. I can say that early support turned an emergency into a manageable crisis. Um, Early donor support allowed us to act immediately instead of waiting months for funding cycles. Um, and it allowed us to pay for uh, the immediate need, like emergency vet supplies, fuel and logistic for staff and additional students to travel from Antananarivo to Lavavolo, which is more than 1,000 kilometers. Um, it paid for food, both for the animals and for the staff and community volunteers. As you know, they were working with us every day during the floodwaters. And lastly, it jump-started critical repairs, such as well, for example. As you know, water is really crucial in moments like this. Um, I can say that without that early generosity, um, more animals would have been lost. Um, and our team and neighbors would have faced the disaster largely alone. So I'm taking this opportunity as well to express our gratitude to all the donors who supported us during these events and even after and until now. Thank you.
Sari, you went through a lot of those different things, and all of this, all these efforts and the reconstruction efforts have happened in various phases. Phase one, I mean, the repairs included, like you're talking about, rebuilding the protective wall around the center, restoring the well and water tower, clearing 4 hectares of enclosures, and constructing more than 100 shade shelters for the tortoises, which is critical under the Madagascan sun. Of everything in phase one, when that donor support was so crucial coming in, which of the upgrades do you think had the greatest impact on being able to stabilize your operations?
Um, there are many important things during this first phase or phase one. But restoring the well and water tower, I think had the greatest immediate impact on stabilizing operations, but as well as sending additional team on site and sending supplies. Yeah, for water, water is fundamental as we need to uh, prepare food, maintain hygiene in treatment areas, and also for supporting staff and community members who are living and working on site. Um, for rebuilding the perimeter wall and clearing the enclosures, these activities were also crucial as they allowed us to safely regroup and monitor thousands of animals in a secure and manageable area. And weakened animals due to flooding needed shade structure in order to reduce their stress. So I can say that these upgrades turn the damaged sites back into a functioning conservation center in order to enable us to provide daily care at scale.
Thanks, Harry. Yeah, and it's kind of a there's a dichotomy here because all of this happened because so much of the landscape was inundated in fresh water coming from the rains, but then also storm surge coming in from the Mozambique Channel. But this area is dry most of the year, and so fresh water sources for the staff and for the tortoises and community is so vital most of the time. So I really appreciate you pointing out to everyone, just how important being able to have those fresh water supplies back immediately is. So the Lavavolo Tortoise Center plays a critical role in KSA's confiscation to reintroduction strategy, enabling the plan's release of about 20,000 tortoises over the next 5 to 7 years. Can you tell us about what the importance of this center is towards those activities?
Yeah, Lavavolo Total Center sits at the heart of our confiscation to reintroduction strategy, as it is one of a few places in Madagascar capable of receiving and maintaining a large number of tortoises from confiscations. Um, from 2018, Lavavolo has repeatedly absorbed massive confiscations, like over 10,000 animals at one point. Lavavolo provides triage and long-term care and helps prepare healthy and suitable tortoises for release into protected areas, community protected areas, as well as formal protected areas. The process from confiscation to rehabilitation at Lavavolo, but as well as the other sites for final reintroduction underpins our ambition to return, as you say, 20,000 tortoises to the wild over the next few years. So Lavavolo, but also the other sites are a network of centers that we use for our confiscations to reintroduction strategy. So yeah.
Thanks, Harry. Yeah, I mean, I actually was there, and I mean, numerous others from the Turtle Survival Alliance, Clint Doak, and from the AZA Safe Radiated Tortoise Program and others. I mean, many of the tortoises that are at Lavavulu, we put hands on back in 2018. So, it is so important getting those animals back in the wild and to think of what Lavavulu was back then in 2018 to what it is now and how important it is just so critical and I think brings such a sense of fulfillment for all those teams back in 2018 who made the journey to Madagascar. Sorry, my dog is barking right now to assist with the strategy. So I'll have to get my dog to stop barking right now. I don't know if I can do that. So um, I'll ask my next question pretty quickly for Santa. Um, so, from a veterinary standpoint, how does the improved infrastructure, the reliable water systems, and the secure medical storage directly influence the survival rates of the tortoises during emergency situations?
When medical supplies are being stored under optimal conditions, it would be easier for our team to get organized and answer the needs for such large number of tortoises. Of course, a well-designed facility help for rapid triage and flow movement for both for the personnel and for the equipment. For the water system, proper hydration is a must for the tortoises since they are living in the hottest part of the country where rains are very often really rare. Water is the primary tool for disease control and health stabilization after confiscation and during the stabilization of the animals. It helps a lot. It helps them a lot to recover from the heat stress and from the metabolic shock, which occurs very often after strong stress from the environment. Thank you.
We cannot hear you, Jordan.
Oh, sorry about that. Um, yeah, my dog was barking very, very loudly in the background. So, thank you, Santa. Yeah, my next question is for Corella. If a donor walked through Lavavulu today and compared it to January 2025, what visible signs of resilience would stand out the most?
Uh, Upon entering the center, you will notice that the cactus are gone, all of them, as they could not withstand the flooding. Native plants, which are more resilient, are gradually returning. The new buildings have been constructed on higher ground, making them safe from future floods. The water sources are now well protected, and the two new towers have strengthened security while giving the center a fresh, renewed appearance. Thanks.
Thanks, Corella. My next question is for Nav. So, after helping coordinate and provide treatment for thousands of tortoises, how has the improved site layout and organization made future triage and preventative care more efficient?
Uh, all of infrastructure and pens have been redesigned to face future cyclone and flooding. As I said earlier, this that means we no longer need to relocate tortoises or move in equipment to in an emergency situation. I can say that during the flooding, triage and treatment were difficult because in the emergency, we had to move large number of tortoises into a nearest available pen. This result in overcrowding, which complicate monitoring, increased stress, and made treatment more time consuming. And it took considerable effort afterward to reorganize enclosure and redistribute animal properly. But now, the enclosure have been rebuilt and careful, carefully arranged to facilitate smoother workflow. This improved layout allow us to conduct triage more efficiently, implement preventive care proactively, and respond to emergencies with greater organization and less stress. Thank you.
Thanks, Nav. My next question then bounces back to Harry. So the infrastructure is essential, but the people are at the heart of the LTC's success. several of them who are here today, and many, many who are not. Can you speak to why sustained investment in skilled local staff, from veterinarians to keepers to tradesmen, is critical to ensuring long-term animal survival, reintroductions, and how flexible funding for personnel strengthens the entire operation?
Yeah, good question. The floods showed that the walls and tanks do not move tortoises, only people do. Um, so skilled local staff and community members were the ones who did the job. They carried animal to safety. Um, they delivered treatments, and they rebuilt enclosures stone by stone. So the sustained investment in these teams ensured that expertise stays in the communities where it is most needed. Um, it also showed that investment builds long-term relationships with local partners, and it also creates a culture of ownership and pride that directly translate into better survival and successful reintroduction. So we need flexible funding for personnel. Um, it is powerful because it allows us to retain staff between crises. We can train students as a rapid response force, as said by the teams before. And we can adjust staffing like quickly when emergencies or large confiscations occur. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. So, my final question that I have goes out to the entire panel, and please feel free to respond here as you like. For all of those watching and all who donated to this endeavor, beyond infrastructure, what does their support ultimately provide for these tortoises, for the local community, and for Madagascar's conservation future?
Yeah, so beyond buildings, donor support provides time, safety, and hope, not only for tortoises, but also for people. Um, for tortoises, it means expert care, food, water, veterinary treatment, and ultimately a path back to the wild. For the local community, donor support translates into jobs, training, um, emergency assistance during disasters, and a shared sense of purpose, as local communities are, we can say, co-guardians of a globally important species. And overall, for Madagascar's conservation future, donor investment strengthens the national network of sites, our centers, and professionals that can respond to shocks, climate shocks. And also, investment can support law enforcement and turn confiscations into the recovery of species that are on the edge of extinction.
All right, thanks a lot, Harry. Anyone else? Santa, Corella, Mattia, Nav, do you want to chime in with anything else? Harry, I guess you encapsulated it all.
Yeah, I want just to thanks everyone watching here, and to thanks all of the donor, and to thanks all of the TSA team for being with us from the beginning until the end of during this crisis. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Corella. Yeah, with that said, you know, join the effort. If whether you're a Turtle Survival Alliance member or not, there's ways to support people like Corella and Navaluna and Mattia and Santa and Harry and all those other members of the Turtle Survival Alliance Madagascar staff, and especially the thousands of tortoises that are under care at the various centers and those which have already been returned to the wild, in which the communities and staff members are continuing to track and refine the confiscation to reintroduction strategy. Because again, there are more than 20,000 animals that we want to get back to the wild. And there's confiscations that are still occurring in Madagascar. The problem, continues, and we continue to fight, and we need to continue to fight. And while we're doing that, we need to get tortoises back into the landscape, into protected forests with protected, communities who feel a sense of guardianship over the forests and the tortoises. So to make that happen, we really rely upon your support. And I know, like Corella just said, everybody appreciates that. So I want to get to the Q&A because I'm sure there's questions, and it'll give us about 15 minutes here to go through some of the questions that have been asked. Maybe some of them have already been answered. So we're gonna move on to that. We're going to go into gallery view to give everybody the chance to respond. So let me change it to the gallery now so everyone can see, and I'm going to pull this over here, look into the Q&A. Again, for the question and answer feature of the webinar, there is specifically the Q&A portal. If anything was put in the chat, we won't be able to see that for the Q&A. So please make sure that you put it into the Q&A feature. And again, if we don't get to your question, this video will be put on YouTube, and you can put your question there, in which we'll go and attempt to answer. Or if there's questions that you feel are more, have a more lengthy response, please feel free to reach out to us at info@turtlesurvival.org, or you can reach out to myself, Jordan Gray, or any of our other staff members like Harry and Corella, and we'll make sure that your questions are answered. So in the Q&A, let's see. Some of them have been answered, but here's a good one from Laura Wright. What recommendations might you offer to other facilities who may be at risk to similar environmental emergencies? And what does your facility or personnel need from others, as recovery is a long-term undertaking?
I think that question goes to me. Yeah, so I think the recommendation is first to reevaluate the risks of the facilities, especially with the extremes and unpredictable climate events, and to act accordingly. Like draft emergency protocols, have a team prepared for any events that may occur, and train also the staff in case of emergency. For our need, we still need sustainable financing for the staff, but we also need funding for developing like climate resilient agriculture for our community partners. So yeah, they will not be um, um, have like great shock when climate events and extreme events occur in the future. So we will still need some supplies. As you know, even if we transferred 5,000 tortoises from LTC to TCC, all of these tortoises are still under our care. So we need vet supplies and other supplies to take care of them. Thank you.
Thanks, Harry. The next question is from Peter Paul Van Dyke. Peter Paul asks, while you were focused on rescuing and caring for the animals during and after the flooding, were you concerned about theft of tortoises before the facilities were restored?
I think Carola can add, but what can I say is that for Lavavolo tortoises center, we are working with what we call gendarme, like police. So they are basically law enforcement. So um, during the flooding and before the flooding, during the flooding and after, they were present on site 24 hour 24. Yeah. And they have done.
Okay, thanks, Harry. The next question is from Kate Leach. How was the tortoise food and water supply affected, and how did you work through that? And on a related note, how were food and water supplies of the local community and the team on the ground? Corella, maybe you want to take that one?
I think I will leave that for Santa, maybe.
Okay.
Thank you.
For the food, the communities provided us everything needed after the flood. 2,000 kilos of food were provided to the center every day. The communities are working on chopping the cactus or on chopping the leaves, the green leaves that are available there. Water, the communities provided us the water every single day for a long time because until we finished to clean up everything, we didn't have clean water anymore. So the communities provided everything for us.
Okay, thanks, Santa. Yeah, and if I mentioned we recently put up a blog about looking back at 1 year, and that blog also has links to the other blogs that were written during the time period and afterwards. And in those blogs, you'll see a lot of good photos that show the community, providing Opuntia cactus for the tortoises. I mean, just massive amounts of opuntia during that time period, which was critical to helping the tortoises. Um, so please, definitely, I think Ratri has put it in the chat, but check out that blog so you can see what kind of efforts the community provided during that time and why it's so great to be able to have these community connections. And like was expressed already during the webinar, um, just the community's support, despite the fact that they're going through all of this themselves and have faced, destruction of their own dwellings or other properties. So it was really, really incredible to see that outpouring of support. My next question comes from Crystal Woodward. How many days or weeks could it take for the impacted tortoises to recover? Of course, this would vary, but can you give an example of how you would see the recovering turtle, its behavior, eating, etc.? And if you want to take that one on?
we don't really the exact time frame for them to recover, because until right after the flood, when we finished to clean up and put the shaded area, we had to do the counting with the authorities. We had to recover, to rebuild the facilities like the shading, the pens. So we don't really have the time to on that, but a proper health check, full health check, like blood sampling, everything was done in October, and they were all fully the 2,000 tortoises that we examined. They were all really healthy, even healthier than before the flood. I've never seen such a great tortoises from there. They all
Okay.
have a good craft line. They have a good weight, well hydrated. They're such a in good condition in October.
Okay. We didn't really get into the numbers. I did talk about the fact that at the time of the flooding, there were more than 13,000 tortoises at the Lavavolo Tortoise Center. There were, more than 8,000 tortoises that required treatment. Pierre Mosson asks, were there any wild tortoises in the area affected by the cyclone?
Yeah, there was, but not that much. And also, we have the tortoises at the how to say it, the really sits. We have one here, and the rain and the wind washed away some soft enclosure that we put there, and some of them escaped from the soft enclosure, but we didn't try to bring them back because they free themselves from the soft release pen. But yeah, we saw some, and some tortoises near a kind of river washed away by the big rain to the ocean. It was a lot here. Yeah, they were affected. Thank you.
Thanks, Corella. And the last question in the chat comes from Linda Solosi. Uh, is there better protection from poaching in place? And I know that's a rather large question to answer, but Harry, maybe you want to talk about Turtle Survival Alliance Madagascar's anti-poaching efforts.
Yeah, of course, we have a system in place to protect tortoises from poaching. We have a network of what we call village volunteers, especially in Andrew region. Um, Currently, we have more than 300 of village volunteers, and they are locals. They have the taboo to harm tortoises, and they are like our eyes and ears on site. So, for any potential poaching or trafficking happening on site, they just relied information to us, and then we shared the information to law enforcement. So law enforcement can act quickly and organize rapid response. So that's one thing that we have in place. But we also have other partnership with law enforcement at national, regional, and local levels.
All right, thanks, Harry. Yeah, the poaching of the radiated tortoises, spider tortoises, plowshare tortoises, etc., continues in Madagascar. But as it's been for many years, and with the continued resources that we're able to gain and continued relationships with the communities, with the government, and with external governments, we're able to continue, fighting this fight against the trafficking of these tortoises. And 2018 was such an outlier as far as the numbers of tortoises confiscated that year. It was over 18,000, about 19,000 tortoises in total confiscated, and we do see confiscation still, but in smaller amounts. But everything helps. So from a support perspective, all those who support the TSA Madagascar program, that goes into this very, very comprehensive anti-poaching plan. So thank you very much, Harry. With that being said, that was the last question. I want to thank you all for putting so many comments in the chat. I want to thank Ratri Laksamipan for being able to manage the chat and be able to put in various prompts and links during this whole time. And I hope that the information that she has provided has been very helpful. Definitely want to thank Elena Duran for being able to run the slideshow and give you all visuals of what we're talking about and what it was like on the ground. And most of all, Corella, Harry, Nav, Mattia, Santa, thank you all so much for everything you've done. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for everything, that you did more than a year ago through all those events, and everything you continue to do every day since then and will do every day beyond. To emphasize, these people are in it for the tortoises and for their long-term conservation in Madagascar. So thank you all very, very much. It's definitely been inspiring. If you all want to learn more, please feel free to reach out. Again, we'll be putting this on YouTube. Elena will be sending a link out to all those who registered. So if you want to view any parts again, or you want to put more questions into the YouTube, please go ahead and do so. And lastly, if you do want to donate, if you want to support the continued advancement of the TSA Madagascar program, the continued construction and expansion of not only the Lavavolo Tortoise Center, but also our other facilities in Madagascar that are dedicated to caring for tortoises seized from wildlife trafficking. And if you want to see those tortoises go back into the wild through our confiscation to reintroduction strategy, please become a TSA member today. Make a donation if you're not. Everything helps, and we really appreciate it. So, with that being said, thank you all very much, and we will see you for the next Turtle Survival Alliance webinar experience. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Everyone,
Bye.
and bye.
Thanks. Bye.